30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
Hi,
My name's JC McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Good morning again. This is Jonathan Small, host and producer of All About You. And All About You is one of two different programs that I have the pleasure of hosting and producing live every single week at AccessTV.org studio. All About You is a show that's designed to let you, the viewers, know something about the particular guest's life story. And this morning on the All About You talk show, we actually have a returning guest to the AccessTV.org network. I had the pleasure of interviewing this individual, I believe back in 2022 on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley Talk Show. And I look forward to interviewing him this morning on the All About You Talk Show. This guest had a tremendous background growing up as a kid in sports, and he's made the transition into the real estate world. And he also has a lot of community involvements goals that he is working on. So I definitely appreciate having the guest this morning. Is no other than the owner and founder of 24/7 Property Management based out of Inglewood, California. No other than Odest Riley Jr. Good morning, Otis. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jonathan. I'm doing great.
Okay.
Thanks for having me back on the show. Always is a good conversation. I've been looking forward to chatting with you.
Likewise here, Otis. The last time we talked mostly about Inglewood, and we'll start off again about Inglewood, California. I believe you were born and raised there.
Yeah, born and raised, Centinela Hospital, Highland Elementary, Crozier Junior High, graduated from Inglewood High School. And so when people say they're born somewhere, I'm really born and raised in this city.
Okay, people recognize Inglewood mostly in the beginning as a basketball town with the Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers are no longer there. I would assume you grew up as a kid as a Los Angeles Lakers fan.
Yeah, Lakers, Dodgers, Raiders, and Kings. Growing up in Inglewood, City of Champions, the cool part was we'd be in school, we could get tickets to the Lakers game pretty cheap. Um, we could get into the game sometimes without even paying because, like, it's such a small town, a small city
Hmm.
that people's parents would work the door. They let us in. They tell us, you can go up, go all the way up to the top, and don't get in trouble. So at the beginning of the game, we'd be up in the nosebleeds. By halftime, we figured out who wasn't coming to the game. We worked our way down. We're behind the players, getting on their nerves. So it was fun.
Well, Inglewood has a lot of famous people from born or raised there. Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys, Vicki Lawrence
Hmm.
and the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Byron Scott, gospel R&B group Mary Mary. I don't know. Did you knew anybody kind of popular or somewhat famous growing up in Inglewood, or did you see anyone in the entertainment industry as a kid or a teenager or growing up?
Yeah, Inglewood is a funny little place. It's like I said, it's like a town. You get to know everybody, and it's so small knit. And right outside of it is like Ladera and Windsor Hill. So like most of the black educated people are all in a small radius. So growing up in Inglewood, you see Byron Scott, you see Lisa Leslie. Some of my high school alum, you had Harold Miner, who was drafted by Miami and played a few years in the league. Then we had Paul Pierce, who I went to school with and played with. Vivica Fox lived in an apartment near me for a few years. I think what's her name, Cherry from Silver Spoons. I can't remember what show it was. Or Punky Brewster. She lived on Stepney. So it was a fun little place. You'd see a lot of people that you'd be surprised at how many people came out of one area.
Now, when did this liking of basketball came for you at growing up? I mean, was it a certain age that you can remember that you started to participate in playing basketball?
I remember the fourth grade at Highland, I wanted to play. And one of my classmates, Lujimi Man, who was a really talented basketball player, he was playing on the sixth grade team as a fourth grader. And that was a big deal. And I wanted to be like him and started playing, but I uncoordinated, just tall and uncoordinated. So I just kind of played with my friends and family, shot at my grandmother's. She had a basketball hoop over her garage. I do that on the weekends and stuff. But I didn't really start playing until high school, like sophomore year. And I was just off into other things. And Coach Roy saw me outside playing with one of my friends, and he was like, "Oh, you're gonna play basketball?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." And he was like, "Oh, you're going to play basketball," and essentially just harassed me until he had my friends like recruit me to come play. So I wasn't very good, honestly. I just they were like rebound, block shots, stay out of the way. Um, Took me a little bit of time to get my feet under me. By the time I was a junior, I was starting to be better. But it was really about my senior year that I actually knew what I was doing out there.
And you set off there. You grew to be what, 6'9" is your
Yeah,
height?
6'9". I graduated at about 6'7", grew a couple more inches in college.
What position did you play in high school basketball before we get
High
to
school
college?
was center, all center. Don't do too much, block shots, rebound, and don't foul out.
Was you kind of content with playing center, or did you want it to be like Magic or somebody else or Kobe with the ball handling? I don't know if that was your game or not, but were you kind of content with being center?
I was content because we were a winning team. And it was ingrained in us that winning is more important than being a star. And we had a star. We had a McDonald's All American, like one of the Gatorade All American, and we all grew up together. So I don't know if it was a lot of pettiness. It was a lot of how do we win? So from our point guard, Sam and Jan and Paul and Dina, like we had everybody knew their role. If you played your role, you'd be on a winning team. A lot of us would get recruited to different high schools that they were like, oh, if you come here, you'll get more time, you'll be a star, you'll be a starter. And we just had to balance that between, but am I going to be a loser? And winning was more important. So for me, and I kind of have that same philosophy in life, it's about winning. So you find your niche, you get in there, and you get it done, get your job done, and everybody will be successful.
Otis, what was it like playing with Paul Pierce? Because from that standpoint, it sounds like he would have been the best basketball player, if that's fair to say. If not, still, what was it like watching him, practice, watching him play game to game for his particular style?
It's interesting because he was a late bloomer. If I was 1 year under him, so I saw him in junior high. He wasn't very good. We just kind of knew each other. We get to high school, it's not about him. We had a guy named Damani and Briscoe that these other players that were more touted than he was. Around his sophomore year, he had a growth spurt and he started getting better because he could just shoot. But it was junior year where he just went leaps and bounds, and we were like, "Whoa, where did this come from?" And by the time he was a senior, he was undoubtedly that guy, and it was crazy to have. I mean, the gym packed, recruit coaches from everywhere recruiting him, press showing up to the school to interview him, and we're just kind of now we have other players coming in to see him, other people for AAU and stuff. Kevin Garnett's on our campus now. Kobe pops in. Like it's just a different vibe when you have a really really talented individual. People flock to see that.
And now you just mentioned Kobe. Obviously, at that era, it seemed like Kobe had to be. I don't feel say he was one of the first high school to pros because it started it before him. But it seems like to me that era with him and Garnett kind of set the new trend. How was you motivated by maybe deciding whether if you wanted to go to college or was you even tempted to say I wanted to go from high school to the pros? I know you say you weren't that great, but I
Me,
just
it wasn't a thought in my head about going pro at that
okay. Don't.
time. Everybody wanted to go to the NBA, but you see NBA players like we work out in the summer and like the O'Bannon brothers would come and play from UCLA. Sean Kemp was on campus one time. Baron Davis was young, um, and like like guys that did play or had short careers. Jay Hart, he ended up playing for the San Antonio and a few other teams. He was the point guard my senior year.
Mm,
We could see the level of NBA and those who weren't level. And
mm,
for me, I was so tall and athletic. People were like, "Well, maybe he'll pick it up." And probably around my sophomore year in college, I was pretty good.
mm.
But everybody wanted to play in the league, but the reality was we didn't all think we were going to the NBA.
Otis, which college did you go to now? Since you mentioned college, which college did you play basketball and go towards attending?
So coming out of school, I had to go to junior college for a year to get my life in order. I went
Mm,
to Southwest Junior College, and it was good for me because I had to learn how to grow up a little bit. It
mm,
wasn't just about basketball; you had to keep your grades and things in order. And then Coach Collins and Coach Bryant, they ended up getting me into a school in Chicago called North University, a little school in the north side of Chicago. And it was probably the best decision I ever made because I had some bigger schools looking at me,
mm,
but they said you should go here because you're kind of raw. The school put a lot of, they'll put a lot into you. And I ended up tearing my knee up, and the negative and the blessing kind of coincided because tore my knee up at a school that was small enough, it was like 3,000 students. And the coaches and the teachers and professors and everybody were very much like, you're very talented, you're very smart. What are you going to do with yourself? What's your next thing? Get healthy, but you can't just depend on playing basketball. And so I ended up getting into journalism there, philosophy, business. I was a student senator. That's how I first got kind of involved with community stuff. Ended up being the head of the Black Student Association, being on the newspaper. And those things kind of opened my eyes up to, because I mean, coming from Inglewood, it's such a small place. Like, you're like, what else am I gonna do? I go to the swap meet to get some gray sweats. I go to Inglewood Sports to get some Jordans.
mm,
I go over here to get X, Y, and Z. And I kind of everything was in this little bubble. But going to Chicago, this school was a small Christian school. They had us doing charity work and community work, which I was like, why would I want to go do free work? And then
mm.
going, giving back at the Y and seeing how important it was to these kids. Like, it was like, oh, I never would have done this before. So it was kind of amazing. And it set me on the path of understanding like going to the NBA or NFL or MLB is a one in a million type of thing where you can make a lot of money from a young age, but most of those careers aren't that long.
Mhm.
Or you can go out and become a commercial real estate broker or a hedge fund guy or all these different ways where you can have very, very successful life.
So you kind of came to the understanding after you said you tore your knee that it was doubtful that you were going to play, I guess, any more basketball. I don't know if you continued to play or not, but certainly you started to doubt or just felt like going pro wasn't realistically going to be a real option for yourself. Could you just kind of elaborate a little bit more about that part of your life?
It was super dark time because I went from being uber athletic to regular athletic. And there's a huge difference. Say super athletic, you can just make up things on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
I could get my elbow over the rim. I could not have to box out the rebound. I could do something that wasn't that good, and then I could make up for it by jumping over a guy. Um, I come back, and even though I worked my butt off and did all the physical therapy and everything, I was half a second slower, and I jumped a little, like from like a 39-inch vertical to like a 35,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a huge difference between now the rebound I just snatched out of the air is now me contested. So while I was rehabbing, it was a long rehab. I ended up with blood clots and a lot of things happening in my knee. I did a lot of reading. Um I had a lot of time to spend with some of my other classmates because one of the things with athletes we struggle with is being around injured people or sick people. So your teammates kind of disappear when you're out. And so I ended up hanging out and spending a lot more time with just the regular student body. And it was good for me because you're very insulated when you're an athlete. But getting to know other classmates and stuff, people be like, you're smart, you could do X, Y, and Z. You're a pretty bright guy, you could be doing this. And that stuck. And I ended up moving into marketing and PR, which allowed me to kind of go where I am now into the understanding how sales work, understanding how the advertising works, understanding all the caveats to be successful in real estate.
So it almost sounds like, Otis, maybe you took a negative and turned it into a positive, and the knee injury, I don't want to say, you can say it for yourself. Maybe it was a blessing in the sky because it might have got your mindset thinking in a different direction or not. But overall, looking back at that stage or where you were at that time, do you feel it maybe turned out to be the best thing that could have happened, or maybe you still have some doubts that you wanted to still continue to see if you could play college basketball and take it to the next level?
I mean, who doesn't want to play in the NBA? You get to travel and play a kid's game for your whole life or play overseas. The reality of it was, I was a late bloomer in the first place. I didn't start putting all my tools together until I was older. Um, Getting hurt gave me a chance to kind of figure out what other things were out there. And so I would say, I don't say it was a blessing. I would say it was more of a wake up, and it was also, I was a rebounder. It's a skill and will game. There's skill players and will players. Skill players are Steph Curry, where the jump shot is so amazing, or Kyrie Irving, where his handles are just off the chart, or Paul, where he just has this great touch. Will is Dennis Rodman, Ben Wallace, the Junkyard. Like I, but my philosophy was I'm gonna get every rebound, and if I get every rebound, all the good players will want to play with me because they want to shoot. If I get the ball and get them the ball, they'll make sure that I'm on the court. And so my thought process was like this every time I stepped out. When the ball came off the rim, if your face is between the ball, I'm gonna go through your face to get the ball because you want it as much as I do. And what honestly I was able to do is just take that into business. You're not gonna outwork me. I'm at the office earlier than you. I leave later than you. I will work on deals harder than you. And that philosophy that sometimes athletes have, it transitions very well into corporate or into like business.
So you learned that obviously at a good key age, that work ethic that you're going to continue to outwork someone from playing basketball, but excuse me, but like you say, you made the transition into the business world. Uh, Otis, did you stay or finish school out in Chicago, or did you come back to California? What was the whole time frame after the injury?
So I ended up hurting my knee. I finished that year up, and I didn't get my. What people don't realize, the 4-year scholarship is not a guaranteed scholarship.
Hmm.
They are year by year. So they essentially were like, "Hey, we love you, but we need that you're not healing fast enough. We need that spot." So I lose my scholarship. I come back to Inglewood, and it sucks because I go from this guy that they left, oh, he's gonna go to the NBA, to I am working at the Walgreens on La Brea and Florence as a stock boy,
Mm.
and 5 blocks from my where I was raised. So everybody sees me, and everybody just like sad, another sad story. Um, but that work ethic, I ended up going from a stock boy to like an assistant manager in like a half a year. And one of my friends from Chicago, who I was going to North Park with, she's like, "Hey, you should come back to Chicago. You should look at Columbia, Chicago. You can write really well. I think they'll accept you."
Hmm.
Um, I've got a couple of $1,000s in order. Transferred, all right. Tried to get Walgreens to transfer me. They said if you can find a spot there, we'll transfer you. So I just flew out to Chicago with like $3,000. Stayed in some crappy hotels, and went to every store I could go to and asked for that they would pick me up, and I was just getting no after no after no. And ironically enough, the night before I got a store to accept me, one of my friends from LA called like, "Hey, they've already replaced your position in in the store out here. So I don't know what you're gonna do."
Hmm.
So I called and the store manager like, "Hey, I haven't used all my time. I'm still on my vacation time. I'll be back tomorrow." And he's like, "No, no, 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 no. I've already filled your spot." I'm like, "Well, I didn't quit."
Hmm.
So he goes, "Well, go to this store." And so I go to talk to two other managers. And the thing that was hilarious is I had worked at a shoe store during the summer called Inglewood Sports on Market Street. And when I left, the owner's wife gave me these black pair of Kenneth Cole boots because she was like, "I want you to go back to school, be successful, X, Y, and Z." And they were like really nicely shiny and buffed. And I go in and I asked the guy like, "Hey, do you have any positions?" He's like, "I don't really have any, but anybody whose shoes are these this well kept is probably somebody who's going to be a hard worker. So come back tomorrow and I'll try to find you some hours." And that ended up turning into me getting a job at a Walgreens out there, able to transfer into Columbia and finish up at Columbia. So I worked Walgreens full time, went to school full time, and by the time I graduated, I kind of had things lined up in my life. I had bought my first property. I had gotten hired at Northwestern Mutual Financial, so I was doing that and going to school I mean, and that and working at Walgreens at the same time. And I started getting into flipping houses.
Well, Otis, that part of your life story, starting off at Walgreens, stock boy and building yourself up, is that kind of unusual, or is that kind of the norm for, let's say, athletes who have injuries or just are not good enough to go to the NBA, that they end up going back, like you say, to your hometown and really starting off at the bottom? Or is there other alternatives, I guess, today that exists more better for people in that situation than it was when you came along?
I would say, sadly, what usually happens is you see somebody come back from school and then the summer's starting to end and they should have left. So you ask them, "Hey, when you leaving for school?" And they say, "Oh, X, Y, and Z," or, "Oh, I'm waiting for the coach," or, "Oh, I'm waiting for this." And then school starts and they're still there. And then you just kind of stop asking and then they kind of just disappear into the background.
Hmm.
And that's a story that we see a lot. Like there was a guy named Gumby who was probably a better ball player than Paul. He went to Fresno State. They had a mascot that looked like him. He was a superstar player out here. Anybody who grew up in Inglewood or the area would tell you how good he was. But he just couldn't get his life in order. It was always something.
Hmm.
Same thing with Kenny Bruner, who was an amazing point guard. We have cautionary tales all over the place. I would say what usually happens, and I'm not trying to say I'm some special person, but what usually happens is we come home, we stop, and we kind of fade away. And it goes from this kid was supposed to be him to, oh, whatever happened to him.
Hmm.
And it's kind of sad. I would say for me, that was probably looking like the way it was going to go for a while. I could not figure it out while I was working at Walgreens. So my thought process was, I'm just going to work as hard as I can here and make as much money as I can. It was no real long-term thought process. It was just, I don't want to be a stock boy. So like I'm always had this ingrained thing in me, like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the best at it. Whether that's shining shoes, getting groceries, digging ditches. I'm gonna just if I'm gonna be a trash man, I'm gonna be the flyest trash man out there. I'm gonna get off the truck. My suit's gonna be shining. Everything's gonna be nice, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
be that guy.
Right, right. So going back to Inglewood, I guess to be honest, Inglewood, California might be a place at that time, I don't know if it still consists today, that you may have had a couple of different options that you could either get into some trouble, get into some elements. I don't know how bad the gang problem, if Inglewood is known for a gang problem with the Bloods and Crips, but to say that if you wanted to get into trouble and go in the wrong direction, it was an avenue maybe to go down that road. And if you still wanted to struggle and try to do something with your life, maybe Inglewood, there was still some options there. I'm talking now before this new stadium and the Rams and everything is blowing up where Inglewood is on the map. Um, was Inglewood kind of like that when you went back coming from college?
Yeah, I mean, if you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to find trouble, trouble was here.
Mm-hmm.
It
Okay.
wasn't hard to find. I
Right.
mean, I can still remember high school. One of my friends lived upstairs from an apartment. He pulled up in a blue Mercedes, and I knew his mom didn't have a car, and he didn't have a car, and he's like, "Hey, you want to ride,
Mm-hmm.
sir?"
Right.
And I get home, his mom comes and knocks on the door like 3 hours later, like, "Hey, you seen your mom?" I was like, "No, ma'am, I haven't." And then it got a little later, he didn't come back. I went and knocked, like, "Yeah, I saw him. He was driving this car, blah, blah, blah." She called, and of course, he had been arrested because he had stole the car.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One of my teammates from high school, I won't say his name, he was a really good player, power forward. He ended up getting mad and punching a window at the Y, and they had the wire mesh in it, and it messed his hand up, and he wasn't able to play his senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up losing a scholarship, and it was really a sad story because he went from being this guy that we knew was going to go play college ball to like he started gang banging senior year. We were like, you don't wait till your senior year to get into like it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I mean, I was blessed. I grew up on La Brea and Hazel, and it was a gentleman named Big Taco. He was one of the neighborhood gang members or whatever you want to call him. He was a neighborhood guy. He gave me and my friend Mondre, who lived upstairs, a pass for us to just go to Centinela Park every day.
Mm-hmm.
And like people just stopped pressing us. Like we could go without having to deal with a bunch of issues. Because he would be like, they look like they actually got a future. Let these boys play ball.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it was like a free pass to go play basketball without getting your ball took or your shoes took or whatever. Or having to fight for to keep your stuff. So it made it a lot easier. So the community a lot of times smaller communities see where people are going. And sometimes a lot of the times the guys who are in the life don't really want you to be in that life with them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go out of their way to say, "Hey, you can be doing this is all I know how to do and it's all I could do. You are tall and you can play. Go at least try to see that out. Worst case scenario, you can come back and do this."
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's how TV portrays it, where like gang members or drug dealers are always like preying on the younger guys to make them do stuff. A lot of times, if they see that you have something else in you, they will try to push you away from them. If they
Mm-hmm.
feel like you have the talent to leave, a lot of times the community will push you out to
Right.
get you.
But then there's also another side. I don't know if it's the case in every category that if you really blow up and make it successful, it might be hard to, let's say, you have $1 million and stay in that same area without people trying to come at you for money one way or the other. But what you said kind of, I can relate to that because I've heard stories about that here locally, that if you are good in a particular sport and basketball, football, or you were a rough dude, know how to handle yourself, you kind of, like you say, would get a pass that you could go anywhere throughout the area. So it was kind of good on one hand that, somebody, this person that you mentioned saw something in you that wanted you to get to the next level. And that kind of gets into now, let's say, your real estate career, though, because basically you are the owner of 24/7 property management. How did this whole business come about for yourself?
Okay, so when I moved back from Chicago, I was still managing Walgreens. I was doing that, but it was kind of maxed out what I was going to do income wise. I had my rental properties in Chicago, and I would look at deals here and there, and I was making more money from real estate. I come back to LA, the market crashes. I go from being a seven-figure guy on paper to yeah, it was rough for everybody. 2008, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Lost everything. Had to figure out the next move. Me and my former business partner Tomas, we ended up starting a company called Baby Boomer Consulting, where we were trying to open up an adult daycare. We were ahead of the time, actually. It probably would have done very well. We just weren't skilled enough to get it off the ground. We got a lot of awards and a lot of recognition for trying, but it just didn't make us any money. And me and him were talking one day. We were like, we're going through all this, writing these grants and running around, not making any money. He was like, we could just sell a house and make $6,000 or $7,000. And we went and got our licenses and started doing loans and real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Loan side blew up because I had that marketing background. I put together some marketing stuff, some advertising, had us on like the shopping carts at the grocery store, ran some short commercials on KJLH. Uh, no credit, bad credit, call WLM. We'll help you get a house. Worst thing I ever could have did. We had the worst clients ever.
Mm-hmm.
400 credit scores, no money, just bad. But what it taught us was how to like filter through paperwork because all the deals that were coming were bad. We got so good at working on bad deals when good deals came in, we were able to crush them. Um, Started taking some of that money into doing some real estate. Eventually, the loan side got really automated and you had to be really big to be able to make money doing it. So we transitioned into doing just all real estate. I started flipping houses, started buying investment properties and syndicating deals. And then while I was doing that, I would be managing my own stuff, and people would be like, "Hey, can you manage this for me? Can you manage this? Can you manage that?" And ended up opening up the 24/7 property management. While I was doing my real estate, the market hit again in like 2022. It really dipped, and the property management side blew up. And I ended up doing this, and then I opened up a second one as a partner with my business partners James and Alicia. We opened up SoCal Premier Property Management, which is an all commercial property management company.
Mm-hmm.
We manage retail stores and shopping centers, and my background in like Walgreens and retail and helping them locate stores and managing those stores and understanding the finance from having the mortgage company allows me to kind of sit more in this room and just put together deals and manage people's stuff. So it's like having an annuity. Property management is like a membership. You don't get a lot from having a few houses or apartments under management. It's like $175 a door.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to 200, 300, now you're making X amount of money. You get to 500, so it scales exponentially. And you get to 1,000 doors that you're managing. That's 1,000 doors at $200 each. You're doing okay after you pay all your taxes, bills, insurance, and employees.
So you're kind of like an entrepreneur then, Otis. You're not really, I mean, you kind of work for yourself in this case?
Yeah, I've worked for myself for a
Mm-hmm.
long time. Since 2013, I've been on working for myself. And I don't know if I could, I think I'm unemployable now at this point. Um,
Yeah.
if you look up older pictures of me, you'd see my hair really well cropped and I wore a suit every day. Now my hair since the pandemic's been crazy. But people call me because I know my stuff.
So you like this stage where you're at in your life and career? I mean, you feel you're more cut out to be an entrepreneur than a typical 9 to 5? Because we always hear that you hear it every now and then some people are just not cut out for or don't want to be a 9 to 5 everyday clock person. But even as an entrepreneur, you still have to put a lot of hours into your occupation. So is this the right fit and the right time currently what you're doing for yourself?
Yeah, yeah, it is. I'm a builder by nature. I like to build things. I'll build systems. The property management and real estate brokerage allowed me to do that. I am not too good to work. I'll tell you this. Like I have a son at home, an 11-year-old.
Mm.
Like if I needed to work to pay and help take care of my family, I would go pick up a job with no hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I have figured out how to do because I'm a saver is how to put enough money away at all times to float me to when my businesses are down. I would say I'm more of a business owner than an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I think entrepreneurs are more, I think they're a little better at being creative than me. They can work from a laptop and just kind of move around and do different things. Me, I always have to build a system. So I'm always, whatever I do has employees
Hmm.
because I'm good at everything. And so I don't get to take all the money. I always build things to scale so where it's Tatiana is doing taking care of the bookkeeping, Monica's doing all the leasing. Yeah, I have to have Lucas doing all the IT, there Manuel doing all the handiwork. So there's always overhead whatever I'm doing.
Hmm.
And so I like it. It allows me to feed my family. I'm able to scale it up, take care of my employees, and anything that someone gives me, I can take it, figure out where the holes are, re-engineer it, and then try to make it profitable.
Right. And again, you have your business and your company headquartered or located in Inglewood, California.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So nice
It's
feeling.
all,
I mean, to be part of your hometown and actually providing a good service.
yeah, I mean, I get to do things like give away clothes for the kids for back to school stuff that my dad was a hardworking blue collar guy. He just didn't have enough money to always have new stuff for us. So we just figured it out. But if I can go and give some stuff back, my son is a spoiled little brat. He's a good kid, but he's spoiled.
Uh,
He sees the world a lot different than I did. So this allows me to do that.
well, Otis, I know you're in the real estate world or you're in the real estate industry, but obviously everybody throughout the country who are unfamiliar with Inglewood, we see the new era that this city is involved with some of the biggest stadiums. The Clippers just recently opened up a new dome arena. So many events. I think the 2028 Summer Olympics is going to take place in Inglewood, like you mentioned off of the air. WrestleMania. You've had the Super Bowl. Is this one of the best eras now to be growing up in Inglewood or to be in Inglewood, or is it still somewhat challenges and issues from your point of view?
Nothing's perfect. It's funny. I
Mm-hmm.
just had a conversation with the mayor yesterday, and
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about it. We're probably at that 50% mark. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
we're one of the hottest, we're probably the hottest city in the country. You can catch a Clippers game, Chargers, a Rams game, and Taylor Swift in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
We have new hottest food coming in. The stadiums are top tier. And it's a vibe here that just people come here now. They want to see it. I just invested in a company called Stormburger. That's one of the hotter new burger places. We're gonna be in Inglewood. We're gonna open up one in Compton and Long Beach shortly. It's kind of becoming an incubator again, where people come here and find what the next hot thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we perfect? No, we
Mm-hmm.
got our own little issues. What the city doesn't, but on the trajectory, we're that place to be.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it. I mean, we had the mayor James Butts on All About You a few months ago, and just the record. I mean, y'all have the NFL Network that's
Hmm.
located there, and
The Girl Scouts,
the
when
Girl
you get
Scout.
the Girl Scouts, you know.
Right, right. And again, is it still? Do you think it's Inglewood or you think it's Los Angeles? Because sometimes people
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
might say, "Well, I say that to say that you are close to Los Angeles, so it makes it so easy." Or does Inglewood really have some things that you think it just stands out within itself?
It has things that stands out with it in itself. I think what's cool about Inglewood is it's like a suburb. It's like a little towny suburb
Mm-hmm.
that, like you go to LA, because LA is huge. We come here, we know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I'm talking to Christian Martin from Fiesta Martin, or I'm talking to my friends over at Astro Burger, or I'm going by any little place I can think of, I generally probably know the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a different vibe. It gives you this different, like, we take care of each other. Like when somebody asks you from LA, your response, I've heard Paul say it and I laugh because we all respond. We're like, no, I'm from Inglewood.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a stamp of we hold each other down. Um, you see a lot of young, successful people come out of here. You see a lot of artists come out of here. You see a lot of politicians. You see it's because we get behind each other. We're winning in basketball. Everybody was there. It wasn't a couple of people. It was standing room only. It's not, oh, we have something better to do. Nope, our kids are good. We're going to watch them play. And that mentality or that energy gives you the ability to feel like you can go out and do anything.
So you feel proud to say you're from Inglewood, California.
100%. Even when people would talk mess about it, I let them know I was from Inglewood.
Well, Otis, I always like to try to find a good, positive way to end a particular show. And since we're kind of running down on time, and I definitely enjoyed, you made this show so fun and relaxing in a down-to-earth atmosphere. I really appreciate your vibe and your energy, how you came across. But as I ask every guest every single week, if there's any last things that they want for people to know about themselves, what they're currently doing, or what they're looking to do, feel free to express yourself.
All right. So, I mean, I'm that real estate guy. I'm the housing commissioner for the city of Inglewood, the rental housing oversight commissioner for the county of LA. So I know my stuff. For me, if you have anything in that real estate world, whether that's managing a house up to a big shopping center, that's where my skill set comes in, managing portfolios. Or even if it's just advice, like a big thing to me is making sure people of color keep their property. So me and my business partners, if you reach out, we try to not just, our goal is to get business from you, but if it's somebody that we can help them keep their property or do better, we try to always make sure we give back. So you can find me on Instagram at Odest, Odest. Facebook, my name, LinkedIn, my name. I'm always just by my name. Our company is managed by 247.com. And if anybody wants to reach out, I'm real easy to find.
Well, hold on. You just said something. Is your name, because I might have been pronouncing your name wrong, is it Odess or Otis?
It's Odest.
Odess. I'm sorry, because I know the
I don't
whole
even
time.
correct it anymore.
Yeah, I'll really regret that. I'm glad you said that. Something wasn't right when I kept saying that. So, Odest Riley Jr.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well,
All good,
Odest,
man.
it was a great pleasure interviewing you this morning. Definitely keep up the good work with what you're doing and look forward to seeing you possibly again in the near future.
And I just want to say thank you for having me on again. I really love what you're doing. I hope you are as big as Mike and Kelly soon, or The View. It's good to see my people out here working hard and making things happen.
Definitely trying my best. Okay. I appreciate them last comments and definitely keep up the good work as well. All right. Okay, good morning again. This is Jonathan Small. Just enjoyed interviewing, I guess, owner of 24/7 Property Management, real estate broker Odest Riley Jr. Real interesting interview with him. I thought he came across as a real down-to-earth, humble person. And definitely for you, the viewers, hope you found this particular guest likewise as well. Already have a face-to-face show booked and set for next week. So if it's God's willings out there for people, as I say every single week, have a very blessed day and keep the faith. Thank you.